All of these AI videos of historical figures contain factual inaccuracies. Online video platforms like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Reels have been flooded with videos like these in the past year. They'll either take the form of an image of a historical figure speaking, accompanied by an AI voice, or a series of historical scenes accompanied by an AI narrator. They can make for very engaging content, even for someone who's not particularly interested in history. This is because they have eye-catching visuals and focus on the most attention-grabbing parts of history, such as sex, drugs, and violence. While sex, drugs, and violence may not be a comprehensive perspective on human history, any kind of engaging, educational content is promising at a time when young people are more disillusioned with the education system than ever. But is this kind of content truly educational if the facts being shared haven't been verified? And what are the implications of being able to easily misrepresent history using AI avatars that we know humans can have difficulty distinguishing as real? As AI video becomes even more accessible and the ability to create convincing, inaccurate representations of history becomes easier, could this profoundly damage our understanding of history and compromise our future? Let's get into it. Social media has a well-established reputation of being a means of mindlessly consuming content, dumbing us down through lowest common denominator entertainment. This backdrop is why TikTok has been keen to market itself as an educational platform, with its Chinese counterpart, Douyin, already having a youth mode that places a greater emphasis on educational videos. As early as 2019, TikTok launched its #EduTalk program, unveiling a mentorship scheme and strategic partnerships with educational institutions, alongside steps to promote educational content. In the years since, TikTok has launched initiatives such as adding a Learn tab to the home feed. This was later discontinued, and adding a STEM feed for select countries. This isn't just a PR initiative though. You'll often find users talking passionately about the educational side of TikTok too, with the algorithm being particularly effective at serving up informative videos on niche topics, made possible by the massive amount of users that TikTok has. In a survey of Gen Z college students in April 2024, done in the context of a possible US TikTok ban, Intelligent.com found that 30% believed a ban would negatively impact their grades, compared to 24% who believed that their grades would improve. Commenting on this, their Chief Education and Career Development Advisor, Hui Huin, said that college students gravitate towards TikTok because they can easily search and find creators that they can relate to in a concise and engaging format that breaks down complex information into manageable bite-sized videos. There's even a term for this kind of learning, where education is broken down into manageable chunks, micro-learning. The success of TikTok's positioning of itself as an educational platform has also been boosted by a disillusionment with traditional education amongst Gen Zs, only 54% of whom think education has prepared them for future success. In this context, Gen Z have been extremely receptive to a new way of learning, and the financial incentives available to creators encourage them to cater to this demand. Historical AI videos are clearly popular in this educational niche, as there's no shortage of them on TikTok, and no shortage of tutorials for how to make them on YouTube, with many of these tutorials also being made with AI. AI has made the video creation process easier than ever, with free apps lowering the barrier to entry to the point that anyone with a phone can create these informative, educational videos. Much of these tutorials follow similar steps, using services like DubDub, ChatGPT, Midjourney, and CapCut to write scripts, generate voiceovers, create images, and edit the videos. Of course, the tutorials often use premium versions of the apps, gaining a commission from signups via referral links. Not that there's anything wrong with this, although users do tend to be disappointed when finding this out. These tutorials heavily emphasize the money-making potential of AI videos, with some even suggesting that creators can make $900 a day from them. While this is obviously just a way for these tutorials to get views, the comments on them do suggest that's what the followers of the tutorials are most interested in, and it's questionable how much they care about the impact of their content. The tutorials don't inspire a lot of confidence on this point, with the first step normally being to tell DubDub to write a script of interesting facts about a historical period or figure, and maybe regenerating it if you don't like the output. There's no suggestion in the tutorials to verify this information by comparing it with reliable sources. This is problematic because AI has been known to hallucinate. In other words, to generate information that isn't true. Unless you have a solid knowledge of the historical period you're covering, you're not likely to spot these inaccuracies, especially as they often sound correct. This is why ChatGPT has a note at the bottom of its UI, telling users to verify any information that it provides. Another script writing method suggested by some tutorials is to simply copy the transcript of another video and ask ChatGPT to write it. In fact, this tip is very popular.
Option 2 is a little bit controversial, but it probably guarantees you to get views.
Option 2 is a little bit controversial, but it probably guarantees you to get views.
So you go and find a video that's actually performed well, for example this one.
So you go and find a video that's actually performed well. For example, this one,
And then you literally just want to paste the script in here, and then you want to just say, can you reword this?
and then you literally just want to paste the script in here. And then you want to just say, can you reword this?
This risks acting like a game of telephone, where even if the information in the original video is true, its accuracy is diminished through repeated rewordings. Much more time is allocated to the steps following script writing. However, there's generally no mention of historical accuracy, only on creating visually appealing, eye-catching images and getting views. The end result of this is a lot of sloppy content, often with factual inaccuracies. Many of the first results for AI historical facts contain information that is easily verified as untrue with reliable sources from a Google search. This video about Lee Harvey Oswald, where it's claimed that he was arrested in the days after JFK's assassination, rather than the same afternoon. Or this video of Sporus, slave of Roman Emperor Nero, where the avatar claims that he was publicly executed, when really he took his own life. Or this video of Patsasika, a famous African slave who is claimed to have died at the age of 130, despite a lack of reliable sources supporting this. Or this video featuring a segment on Cleopatra that repeats the myth that she rolled herself up in a carpet to be brought to Caesar, like a royal Amazon package. Many of these historical videos also present theories as fact, despite a lack of scientific consensus, such as the claim that the Toba supervolcano reduced humanity to one tribe, when really it's not known how many survived. Much of this comes down to the short form format, which means that key details are often omitted, to keep videos within a certain length. There's also the issue of appearance. This isn't exclusive to AI, however the general lack of care and attention taken with these videos means that images of historic people or cultures are often inaccurate. Despite ancient Romans likely having a diverse array of skin tones, pale skin is overrepresented in videos about ancient Rome, and the topic of pale, blonde sex workers is covered extensively. In fact, if you want to know how they got blonde hair, learn from this video where it's claimed that people use lots of things like special mixes of stuff. There are also blatant inaccuracies like Cleopatra wearing a leopard print dress, as well as AI videos of people who aren't even dead yet, which raises ethical questions about whether avatars should be talking on their behalf. And then there's whatever the fuck this is. Often though, AI is used to create images that are exaggerated or disturbing, such as this one showing the skeleton of a child or images of the Holocaust. Of course, all of these issues aren't specific to AI or TikTok, but AI makes it possible to produce these videos en masse. And these kinds of oversights or deliberate misrepresentations to generate views reflect the creator's lack of sincere interest in the topic of the videos. The effectiveness of these videos varies significantly, depending on the time and effort that's been put into them. Ones with images without glitches and lazy editing are obviously much more compelling than others. But while you might be quick to dismiss these kinds of videos, or quick to pick up on the contextual clues that hint that they aren't reliable, such as the awkward wording of the narrations, it's easy to forget how compelling many people find AI-generated content. The phenomenon of AI-generated content going viral on Facebook, even when it's blatantly AI-generated to most, has been shared endlessly in TikToks and news articles. And the inability to distinguish AI-generated faces from real ones has now also been established in multiple studies, such as one from Aberdeen University that found that the 124 participants wrongly judged the AI faces to be human almost 2/3 of the time. A recent study from Stanford University also found that the latest model of ChatGPT, version 4, passed a rigorous Turing test, meaning it was indistinguishable from humans. While the avatars in historical AI videos aren't necessarily meant to be perceived as real, the realism does make them more compelling. The voices used in these videos also tend towards older, male ones, which are generally perceived as being more authoritative, such as this one.
Alexander the Great, Macedonian king known for his unparalleled conquest from Greece to India.
In its analysis of studies on the topic, American scientists found that males with lower-pitched voices tend to be perceived as more attractive, physically stronger, and more dominant, a term offered by the experimenter to mean loosely respected. The University of Chicago also found that people perceive statements as less truthful when spoken by non-native speakers. When people listen to accented speech, the difficulty they encounter reduces processing fluency, but instead of perceiving the statements as more difficult to understand, they perceive them as less truthful. This might explain why the accents chosen by the accounts are American or British, specifically received pronunciation, as users in the US and UK make up a large proportion of English speakers on the app. The intent of choosing these voices is to lend the AI narrator an air of authority, capturing the attention of users, and believe that what they're being told is true. But what about the ability to speak with an AI historical figure directly? This was the premise of Historical Figures Chat, an app that was released in early 2023 and included over 20,000 notable people from history that you could talk to. After launch, it very quickly came under a barrage of criticism for questionable behaviour from its avatars, such as Himmler expressing regret for his role in the Holocaust, and Henry Ford denying being an anti-Semite, despite this being provably true. As far as I can tell, Historical Figures Chat is no longer available for download. I did find an app called Hello History recommended on TikTok though, an app with a similar premise and which doesn't seem to have had any major criticisms yet, despite launching around a similar time as Historical Figures Chat. While the intentions behind these apps may be good, it's debatable whether the premise isn't inherently risky. We can train these AI models on historical records and articles, but in order to have a natural feeling conversation with humans, AI inevitably needs some room for interpretation. The difference in outcome for Historical Figures Chat and Hello History underscores the importance of taking care when dealing with AI in history. Through the use of APIs, such as ChatGPT's, it's now extremely easy to integrate AI into apps, with many apps now little more than wrappers for the ChatGPT API. This means that you don't need to understand how AI works in order to integrate it into an app, or build an entire product off it. Despite all these tools, the process of making AI videos still requires individual prompts at each stage, and editing the video together, including fixing up any glitches in the images. What we will inevitably see is the ability to make entire videos with a single prompt, and thanks to OpenAI's Sora, that may not be too far away. As you may have already seen from the previews released in February, Sora allows for the creation of realistic looking videos with the same kind of prompts you provide an AI image generator. The most relevant example they shared was a bird's eye view of a gold rush town set in 1849. The video shows people going about their day, the old buildings, horses, a river flowing through the centre of the town. If someone didn't know that film cameras didn't exist in 1849, it wouldn't be unreasonable for them to think that it was real. As is often the case with AI, people are understandably keen to point out the flaws, such as the unaccompanied horses and lack of signs on buildings. It's also worth noting that the previews released by OpenAI were chosen selectively, based on representing the technology as well as possible, and it's possible it won't be publicly available for some time. However, we'll inevitably see this technology improve with future iterations. And it's especially impressive that Sora was able to generate a video of an 1849 gold rush town, despite very limited photographical references existing for that period, and no videos. Like all AI companies, OpenAI also doesn't have access to all possible training data, although their own CTO doesn't seem to know where they get their data from.
Used publicly available data and licensed data.
So, videos on YouTube?
I'm actually not sure about that.
Okay.
The implications of this technology will be huge though, with the ability to generate videos of any historical event presented however the creator wants. This could allow for the creation of videos of war crimes that never actually took place, or versions of history that garner sympathy for genocidal regimes. The risk of this feels especially high due to the current failure of many governments around the world to properly regulate at the same pace it's developing. The presentation or teaching of history in a certain way is already used in countries' educational and cultural institutions, especially if the population isn't also taught to think critically about the information presented to them. This is most typically done for the purpose of strengthening national identity, particularly in authoritarian regimes. Every country's history is complex and nuanced, and there's rarely clear-cut heroes and villains in the real versions of events. But this kind of nuance can interfere with establishing the country as good in the population's minds. Erasing certain groups from our understanding of history can also be a means of furthering an agenda, such as banning books that highlight LGBTQ figures in history. Doing so fosters a perception among the population that LGBTQ people are a recent phenomenon, and that being LGBTQ is a choice, rather than this being a result of people being able to openly express their gender and sexuality when they couldn't before. This can go the other way though, and we've seen it here on YouTube in the form of James Summerton, who was found to have repeatedly invented LGBTQ history facts, and was debunked extensively in Todd in the Shadow's excellent video on the topic. It's easy to assume that users, whether that be on TikTok, YouTube, or any other video platform, treat the content they consume with a reasonable amount of skepticism, but this just isn't the case, especially if it confirms their own biases. James Summerton had accumulated well over 200,000 subscribers by the time he was finally called out for the extensive lies and plagiarism in his videos, and we're especially inclined to believe information to be reliable if we perceive the person relaying it as authoritative. The amount of information we're exposed to on a daily basis makes it impossible to verify everything we come across. The consequences of the misinformation we're exposed to aren't always immediate either. While medical misinformation may cause someone to make ill-advised decisions about their health and feel the consequences immediately, misinformation around history manifests in much more subtle ways that arguably have further-reaching consequences. The media literacy crisis means that much of the population isn't able to spot signs of misinformation or even really understand the information that's being presented to them. This is especially consequential for two groups who may be most likely to lack media literacy: the youngest internet users and the elderly. The former because their understanding of the world is still being formed, and the latter because they have some of the highest voting rates. The problem is made worse by the fact that young people often aren't prevented from seeing certain types of content due to a lack of age verification on social media. This means that they're often the ones watching these AI historical videos, where an emphasis is often placed on violent, disturbing content to attract viewers, and little emphasis placed on making them factual. People are quick to point out the flaws in AI-generated content currently, but it's all but certain that these flaws will be reduced over time. It's easy to forget how much AI has already progressed in a year, and while a lot of AI art is easily recognizable now, we can't assume this will always be the case, with a 2021 study at the University of Amsterdam finding that people cannot reliably detect deepfakes, a bias towards mistaking deepfakes as authentic videos, and overestimate their own detection abilities. And while much of the inaccuracies on the TikToks I've used as examples of this video may seem minor or inconsequential, they set a dangerous precedent for how we get supposedly factual information. This leaves this area open to exploitation by individuals or groups who are more interested in pushing an agenda, or just making money, than sharing verified information about a past that determines our future. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you worried about AI historical videos like these, or do the benefits outweigh the downsides? Drop a like and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. I release a new video every couple of weeks. Until next time, see ya!